Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Data Centered Audio Experience. I'm your host, Catherine Tao. Today, we have Jeff Ptak, the Director of Data Engineering and Analytics at Sunbelt Rentals. And today, we're speaking about the transition from software engineering to senior leadership. Welcome to the show, Jeff. We're excited to have you today.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, definitely. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. Again, my name is Jeff Ptak, and my background is actually in robotics and factory automation. I worked for an automation company and then a robot manufacturer for like 13 years when I first started out my career. And then I made a move to Corning Incorporated, where I was doing precision machine control systems for their photonics division, which is basically the transmission of data via light. So think fiber optics and all the various things that make that work. But as well as at Corning, I made that transition from engineering into IT and into a leadership role. I spent 13 years at Corning doing that stuff. And then I spent a few years after that leading a BI team at a tire distributor here in North Carolina. And I finally found my home at Sunbelt Rentals. Sunbelt is the second largest heavy equipment and tool rental company in the country. You've probably seen our equipment at various construction sites. All of our stuff is painted a bright green color. You can't miss it. I'm currently serving as the Director of Data Engineering and Analytics, where my teams are building the next generation data platforms, enabling our data science and analytics teams to extract insights from the mountains of data that we have, as well as feeding data and information to all of our data consumers, both inside and outside the company.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I know that originally you kind of started your journey as a software engineer, and then you kind of transitioned to more of a director of data engineering and analytics role as you are right now. So, what made you want to transition into the senior leadership?
Well, when I was coming up in the engineering roles, I saw lots of different styles of leadership, and I saw things that I thought that some leaders did that I thought I could do better. So people viewed me as I was coming up in my career, they kind of viewed me as a natural leader anyway. So I decided to take advantage of that and try to formalize it. So I found an opportunity at Corning to get into a leadership role as a software development supervisor at one of their manufacturing plants. And as I mentioned earlier, I was at the time I was working in their corporate engineering group, and I had made a pitch when I was there to the management team there to uh, combine all of their various software developers into one team so that we could, standardize on software development practices and the languages and all this stuff, because the developers are scattered all over the division and they were doing all things all different ways, and it was kind of a mess. And I was told, well, we're not a we're not a software company, we're a materials company and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, yeah, but if you take the software out of any company, you pretty much don't have anything that the company can do. So anyway, they shot me down for that. But then there was an opportunity at one of the manufacturing plants for this software development supervisor role. I applied for it, and through my network at Corning was able to get that role, and was quickly promoted to an IT manager for the same plant. I spent about 13 years there, where they take leadership, really seriously. And so I had some great training programs and some excellent mentors that allowed me to hone my own leadership style that has driven me to where I am today. The teams I have built over the years at multiple companies now have evolved into high performance, extremely loyal, extended family, basically. I heard a quote one time from a military movie involving Navy SEALs that said, "There are no bad teams, only bad leaders." Now, I'm not sure if that's a real SEAL quote or not, but I take that quote to heart. So one of the ways that to really have influence to execute a vision is to get into a senior leadership role. Otherwise, at the end of the day, you're really just implementing somebody else's vision, right? So we all do that to some extent, short of being the CEO of the company, but it was that drive to have a vision and have the ability and the audience to pitch it to, and then build a team to execute on that and finally see it come to fruition. That's what really drove my desire to transition into those senior leadership roles. In addition to that, as one rises up the ranks, the types of things that we get to do are much more strategic. And those big think moments and those ideas give me a lot of personal satisfaction when they work. And quite frankly, a lot of learning when they don't.
Yeah, definitely. And I know that, of course, being in a more senior leadership role, it definitely means needing to take the initiative and bringing more innovation within the company as well. So it definitely takes a specific person to kind of go into the senior leadership role. And I'm sure that you enjoyed your past software engineering kind of work that you've done in the past, but how does your work now still include your past experiences as a software engineer?
Well, my past experience in engineering gives me some instant credibility with the engineers that I lead. I can speak their language, I can brainstorm ideas with them, and when necessary, on occasion, put hands to keyboard for some things that I still have the ability to do, to pitch in and help. So I know the tech we work in well enough to be able to guide the projects and the business in terms of what they want and what the technology is capable of delivering. But I also have enough experience to get creative during the solutioning phase of many of the bigger projects. In addition, in the data world that I work in on a day-to-day basis now, we're always looking for ways to automate data flow and transformation processes. So my background in robotics and factory automation and the thought processes involved in figuring out how to automate something, whether it's with a robot or any other process, come very easily for me. And in addition to that, I have been blessed since college with the ability to very easily translate highly technical concepts into common English the average person or executive can understand. So all of that stuff sort of combined together, I leverage that engineering training almost every day to be able to guide my teams and get stuff done.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure you know what makes a great leader. There's certain specific qualities that a good leader has. And so, what is your favorite part about being a leader, and what makes a good leader, in your opinion?
Well, my favorite part is actually supporting and inspiring others to achieve their career goals. So watching somebody hit their career milestones is really satisfying for me. And I was trained that leadership is all about serving others. So I saw a great quote the other day that said, "If serving others is below you, then leadership is beyond you." And that is absolutely true. So I think there's a big difference between being a leader and being a boss. And I summarize that with a visualization I saw years ago that looked like this. So imagine a massive stone block that needs to be moved. So think like the stuff that makes up the pyramids in Egypt or whatever. A boss will be standing on top of that block, pointing his finger in a direction, telling the guys on the ground and to, pull this block that way or this way or whatever. A leader, on the other hand, will be out in front of the team on the ground with the rope over his or her shoulder, pulling with the team and directing them. We got to go this way. So that's the big difference. Now, that said, leadership isn't for everybody. So a big mistake that a lot of companies make is taking one of their top performers, whether an analyst, engineer, or whatever, and making them the leader because they just kick butt doing whatever it is that they do. But some people just aren't cut out for that, and that's fine, right? So, and further, the leader doesn't need to be the smartest person in the room. They need to have enough self-confidence to surround themselves with people that are smarter than them and not be worried that one of them is going to take their job or somehow outshine them. And I've seen that several times, but I saw it firsthand with a manager that worked for me in the past. He was super intimidated by the really smart people on the team. And it was obvious to the team, and it sowed a lot of tension within the group. When I let him go, the team morale skyrocketed. And, as Steve Jobs once said, it doesn't make sense to hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. And at the end of the day, it's all about building a team with the smartest people you can find. I give my teams the freedom to think outside the box and a platform to freely exchange ideas. Nobody likes working for a micromanager, right? Every person on the team has strengths and weaknesses, and I think being a good leader allows you to amplify those strengths in others and then help them minimize or overcome their weaknesses. I think the other thing that leadership really does is amplify who you already are. So if you're the type of person that treats people with respect and you care about people and the work and you have leadership skills, then leadership is just going to amplify all of those traits. On the other hand, if you're the type of person that is grumpy and you snap at people and you look down on people, quote, below you, and you get into a leadership role, then all of those traits are going to be amplified as well. And then you become that boss from hell. I've seen this a couple times in my career, and it's never pretty. And I feel for the people that have to work for somebody like that. I think good leaders take ownership of both their successes and their failures, and including the failures of their team. So the buck stops with them. They don't point fingers. They don't blame others. They own it, learn from it, and move on. And I think that the evidence that you're a good leader is when you have your team from a previous company that want to follow you to your new role, or you have people within your own company from other departments that want to or that are outwardly expressing interest in joining your team. When that happens, you know you're doing something right. Most people don't leave a company because of the work or their team. They leave because of poor leadership.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something that I've heard a lot also is people leave because of bad management. And you brought up a really good point about a good leader not really just telling the team what to do, but working with the team to achieve what they're trying to do. And I think that's something that's really important to differentiate what a good leader is. And you really hit all of the good points for that, definitely. And what advice do you have for those trying to transition into senior leadership and just trying to climb that ladder?
Well, I would say, take note of the leaders that you respect, right? Jot things down that you really like about their leadership style. And, quite frankly, the things you'd rather do without. I mean, nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes and whatever. But over time, you'll see a pattern develop that will help you figure out your own style. So take advantage of opportunities to lead, whether that's leading projects or being a team lead, or even just being that vocal person in the room asking questions. Then, if you think you got the chops for leadership, apply for your first role and hone your craft from there. Also, it's important to work on communication skills, because a lot of I call it learning how to speak executive. And what I mean by that is executives don't generally have the time for all the minutiae that particularly engineers like to throw out on the table. They want high-level summaries that they can take action on, or even better, high-level summaries that actually include a recommended action. If you find yourself aspiring to be a leader and you're sending an update to your manager that's rolling on to page 3, I would consider rewriting that. Sometimes, the details provide important context, but in that case, give them the summary or her the summary, and then provide the details below the summary. That way, the manager or whatever can decide for themselves if they want to read through all the gory details, but they don't have to read a 5-page email to get to, an answer and try to deconstruct all this complex stuff that people typically put in there.
Yeah, definitely. Great point there. And I wanted to say thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us today. It was such a pleasure to have you. At the Data Standard, we're trying to build a community of data thought leaders and data enthusiasts. So everyone has a place where just everyone can connect and talk to each other during this time. So what is something the community can do for you?
Well, definitely the networking collaboration opportunities are really valuable to me. I mean, we can't do what we do alone on an island, right? So, as I mentioned earlier, everybody has strengths and something they bring to the table, and whether that's within your own company or even within your own personal or professional network. And so that just exchanging ideas and having the ability to talk through some stuff can really unlock some innovation, down the road, and just by having that conversation. So, I think that networking collaboration is the important part.
Definitely. And I'll make sure to connect you with some community members after the call here.
Oh, that'd be great.
And where can everyone find you online?
So I'm not a big social media guy, but I do have a LinkedIn profile. You can find me at linkedin.com/Jeffptak. And you can get a hold of me there. My whole history's on there and all that good stuff. So that'd be great.
Yeah, perfect. And to our audience, for more information on the Data Standard, you can find us at www.datastandard.io, as well as on our LinkedIn and YouTube channel. And thank you so much, Jeff, for joining us. It was such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
I appreciate you having me. Thanks again, Catherine.